For the first section of translating, this was probably missed. I think a few people got this right, but not a lot. So 4 times the sum of, so the sum of needs to be in parentheses, and then we have n squared plus 1. Because 4 times the sum of means everything here is being added together. These are the 2 things that are being added together. So some of you had that square on the outside, but it should have been right above n. Questions on that one? I write really fast when I grade, so if you can't read something, just let me know. My husband laughs at me all the time. What does this even say? And then I read it back to him. He said, there's no way that says that. This was 3 points for showing me that 4 is being multiplied to everything. Some of you did not do that. So make sure that you do have parentheses, that the square was in the right place, and you showed me that you were adding. Some of you switched the 1 and the n squared, which was fine because adding is commutative. But for these translating, I want you to write it in the order that is given. Right. Number 2, there were a bunch of different ways you could have written this. One of the most common ways I saw, write out negative, and then you could put 1/2, write it out either way. And then we need to multiply or times whatever the difference of, so it tells me that I'm multiplying to everything. And then some of you just put 3n, but that didn't tell me what 3 and n were doing. So you need to say of 3 times n, of the product of 3 and n, either of those. And then and 2. So the difference of takes care of all of this because these 2 things are subtracting each other. I'm multiplying 3 and n. I'm multiplying the negative 1/2, and I'm showing that the 1/2 is negative. So the negative, the times, all of it, the difference, and the times were worth 4 points. Questions on that one? I did see a few of you get this correct, but for the most part, I saw you guys combined these 2 to get negative 7p to the third. You left these 2, and then you brought the plus 3m down, which is why you only got 2 points. But if I'm looking at these 2, m and p and m are the same thing. They're just in a different order. Think about that like numbers. If I had 3 times 4 and 4 times 3, would that give you the same thing? Yes. It's commutative. The order does not matter. This was a trick question. So you should have combined these 2 to get negative 11. MP or PM does not matter. So the 3 points on that one were combining your P cubes correctly, combining your MPs correctly, and then bringing this one down. I think this happened more so in this class than the other one. This exponent does not carry over to the number. It is just there. We shouldn't be doing anything with the exponent. So some of us were doing negative 125 and negative 8, and that we should not have been doing that. Do we have questions on that one? For the most part, I think everyone got this one right. Should have distributed here to get 2x plus 4, and then distributed here to get negative 18x. Be careful with your signs here, because this should have been a positive 30. If you got negative 30, it threw off the entire thing. And then combine your x's together. Again, be careful with your signs. This should have been a negative 16. If you got positive 16, you just forgot to bring down your negative. And then plus 34. So the 4 points here were distributing correctly for this first set, distributing correctly for the second set, and then combining your x's correctly and combining your constants correctly. Do we have any questions about that one? For the most part, you guys did fine here. I think the issues I saw were not showing all of your steps. Remember to do that. I think a lot of you may have remembered that these were the same two problems I asked you to do, that 13 and 14 in the evaluating notes, as well as we had just gone over these exact same two problems. But first, you should have put your values in. Show me that you're multiplying, either by using parentheses or using a dot. If you just put it next to it, I don't know the operation that you're using. So putting in all of your values, showing me that you evaluated or replaced was worth 1 point. Simplifying this piece was worth 1 point. So this was worth 1. Simplifying this piece was worth 1 point. And then these next two steps were like a combined point. Showing that you simplified this to get this, this to get this, and then you don't need the absolute value signs anymore, so you drop them. So these combined were worth 1 point. And then, of course, getting the correct answer was worth 1 point. Which is how we got 5. So make sure you're showing every single step. I do not assume anything for quizzes and tests, because if I assume you did this, then I can assume you did this, and I can assume the whole test, and I don't want to do that. So make sure you're showing me your thought process, show me all of your steps. Do we have any questions on that one? So you're good? Yeah.
You're not testing.
I was going to say I am not test.
Okay.
After lunch.
Okay, my bad. Sorry.
Alright. For 6, same thing. Put in all of your values. So 4 times 9 plus 3 times 9 over 27 plus a negative 24 plus the cube root of 9 times negative 24. So putting in all of your values was worth 1 point. If you just put the variables, that doesn't tell me that you put in the values. So you wouldn't have gotten credit for that. Simplifying each part, so this, the numerator and the denominator and this was all worth 1 point. So 36 was worth 1 point. Getting 27 was worth 1 point. Simplifying this to get 3 was worth 1 point. And then simplifying this to get negative 216 was worth 1 point. So if you didn't show me that step, you missed a point somewhere. So make sure you're showing me all of your steps. And then getting these was worth 1 point, this entire row, and then of course the correct answer was worth 1 to get 7. Do we have any questions on that? Yes.
Could you go back to number 2, please?
Mm-hmm. Yours didn't have to be exactly like mine, but it should be similar. If you didn't use the word difference, you either had to say all times or something to show that you're multiplying to everything. These same point values are going to follow on your test, so be keeping that in mind. Do we have any other quiz questions? In general or specific? What about review questions? From the review, in general, specific, anything like that? Interesting.
One question of the test.
Okay.
Not all is going to be on the test.
There will be modeling. Modeling was not on the quiz. Modeling algebra tiles. You are drawing them. Remember that negatives are shaded in. And then everything else. Translating, simplifying, evaluating.
Can you work on translate? That's the one that I'm looking at.
Sure. Find a problem that you want to go over. In the review, in the notes. While you guys are testing, I am going to be doing your binder folder check. So whether you do that now and get all of that stuff together, I probably won't be moving too many of you in this class because you have full.
It's so good.
I like barely really
For something like 19, we need to write it so that 5 is being multiplied to everything. We could start off 5 times. How could we say that we're multiplying it to everything? Matthew.
5 times the difference of A.
The difference of would say I'm multiplying to everything that's being subtracted. And then with the difference of, I just need to say what 2 things are being subtracted. So the difference of A and B, the and tells us these 2 things are being subtracted. And that would work. You have another one? 17. Similar, I can write it similar to this, but not difference. So I'm going to say 1/2 times, what can I use instead of the difference? Victoria, I didn't see your hand. The sum of. So that tells me I'm multiplying 1/2 to the next 2 things I'm adding, or everything I'm adding. And then the 2 things I'm adding are x and y. So this tells me the sum of, I'm adding x and y together, and I'm multiplying 1/2 times all of that. Okay. Any others? Do you feel better about that? Okay. Okay. Any other review questions we want to go over? Right? Remember your parenthesis phrases that will help you multiply to all, divide to all of those things. Quotient of, sum of, difference of, product of.
Number 15.
Sure. Do this up here. Right? So, what operation are we doing there? Anyone?
Multiplication.
Multiplication. So somehow we have to say we are multiplying 8ny squared. We could keep using times. You don't have to change words like that unless you are multiplying to everything. So if you want to keep using times, that's fine. You want to change it to multiply to, by, whatever. So I can say 8 times. And then I need to say either y squared, a number y squared, either of those. Any of those. Squared raised to the 2nd power to the power of 2, any of those would work. So that would be your answer. 8 times the square number y. If you said the square of a number y, then yes. So we also want it to make sense English, grammar, whatever. All of those things. Clearly, that didn't make sense. Any other review questions we have that we want to go over? is your chance to ask any last minute confusing questions you may have. If you're still not sure about this. Did you have a question?
Number 9 on simplified expressions.
The second page.
Actually, third page. Right.
Yeah, so this one.
Page talking about.
Use your calculator. You can most likely use by hand. Remember that here you're really dividing. If you don't have anything here except 1, so I can think about this like 24 divided by 3. Well, that will give me 8, and I would just bring down my x. Negative 18 divided by 3 would give me negative 6, and I would just bring down my y. 16 divided by a negative 4, because the fraction is negative, would be a negative 4x. Negative 36 divided by negative 4 will give me a positive. Be careful with your signs. Always double check your math. And then, after you've distributed, combine your like terms. We have 8x and negative 4x. Do exactly what it says. So 8 minus 4 would give us 4x. Negative 6y plus 9y would give me positive 3y. And then I can't combine those anymore, so that would be our final answer. Any others? Make sure you're good with modeling.
On the red of the expressions, 23
6. 7 more than the cube of a number. More than means what? Adding. So 7 more than the cube of, not the cube root of, so this would be raised to the 3rd power. Pick a variable. X would be 7 plus x cubed. Now if it said the cube root of x plus 3, then it would be different. Oh, I really like this one like this. It would say the sum of. So this would be different because all of this would be in the cube. So be careful with placement. The order of which it's written will tell you what is being cubed, squared, added, multiplied, whatever. Other questions? When we get back from lunch, I'll have you clear off your desk, and I'll give you dividers. So if you want to put your binders or folders like on the floor in front of your desk, or if you don't have an open desk, if you have an open desk, you can put it there. And then I'll be coming around and checking those. I'll probably actually start this before lunch, that way